as he hops on. Oh my God! Yay! How are you, friend?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. Can you see the comments? Because I know the bar is there and the comments are coming through.
Yep.
I can see you though.
Yep. Perfect.
Sweet. So I always like to do the little uh, pre-work and introduce ourselves and where everyone can find us and what we do. And then we'll go ahead and hop into the good stuff. For everyone who's watching, if you have questions, today we're talking about crystal business. So if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the not in the comments, in the question box. So where the comments are at, next to the comment box, you'll see a little camera with a plus sign, and then you'll see a little kind of like that comment bubble with a question mark in it. That's where you will click and put all your questions because it helps us keep track of all those questions. I was going to do it old school and just write them down in my little notebook, but I think that I want to try this instead because I think it'll just help us stay more organized. Yeah, so other than that, I'm Priscilla from the Moon Artisan. We're a crystal shop. And Jaden, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? I know Heber calls you Joe too, so like let us know how you want us to call you by.
Yeah. So my name is Joe, my legal name.
Okay.
But everybody knows me as Jaden on Instagram. And I am the owner operator of Gemstone Zaddy. Yeah, happy to be here.
Awesome. I've been looking at your pictures. You take so many beautiful pictures. Do you take them yourself?
I do all my pictures, all my content myself. Yeah.
Nice. I love them. I've been I do my pictures myself too. I think we all do. But I love how like at the beginning, like if you scroll through my feed and you see like the pictures I took at the beginning and the pictures I take now, like you could see the evolution of how I got so much better at it.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yep. That was kind of how it was for me when so before I launched Gemstone Zaddy, I mean, we all start somewhere, and I literally started, before I, gave that concept up at my living room coffee table. And so it was a lot of, dark colors, browns, and kind of like, you evolve as you continue and your taste, differs, and you see what other shops do, and you kind of gain a liking for that, and then you start to kind of bring it into your own business and make it your own. So it's always an evolving thing, and our pictures, our products, ourselves are always going to keep changing.
Yes, yes, it's an evolutionary process. Like I've always told my friends that whether it's crystal business or otherwise, because sometimes like at the beginning it's so hard to choose the name because that's like you're sealing the deal when you choose the name of the business, right? But
Right.
it's just like that's what I've learned is that you know everything changes, everything evolutionizes, and I think even something like a name, you shouldn't you shouldn't feel like pressured to keep it if you feel like you're growing out of that name and you want
Mhm.
to rebrand. Like that's always something that's always an option that I don't think anybody should feel scared of because I think that is just part of like you growing as a person and your your business is your baby and it kind of reflects that evolution too. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
We do have a question. Venus and Pearl Co. Is asking, what are your tips for keeping track of inventory and profit losses?
Do you want me to take that, or do you want to take that?
I mean, we can rock, paper, scissors. Just kidding. I can go first. Okay, so the way I keep track of inventory, everybody is different. I know like Jaden might do something completely different, but what works for me is I keep a spreadsheet of first of all, I keep an inventory spreadsheet and I have tabs, if you guys know how to use Excel or Google Sheets. So there's tabs to each spreadsheet. And I make one of these sheets. I make them per year. So I'll have one for like 2019, I'll have one for 2020, and I'll have one for 2021. And as the years go by, I make a new sheet. Um, and so in the tabs, those are where I keep suppliers. So one tab will be for this supplier, another tab will be for another supplier, so on and so forth. You shouldn't have too many of these, depending on the size of your shop or just depending on your preference, because I feel like there's usually, from what I know and what I know from other shops, there's usually a sweet spot between like 3 to like maybe 6 suppliers that everybody will like continuously buy from. And sometimes we deviate off that and we'll meet a new supplier and we see something they really like and we'll want to give them a chance. And then, you know, whatever decision we make from there, it will be what it will be. But for the most part, we try to keep things organized that way, keeping 3 to 6 suppliers that you trust the most, putting each supplier in that tab, and then in each line of the spreadsheet, you'll go ahead and put you can so in the columns, I have columns divided with the shapes, so spheres, towers, and all of that, and then you matching with the price in the rows, if that makes sense. That's how I do it as far as inventory goes, as far as the data. But then in terms of where it's stored, I have everything in my garage. I don't use my garage for my cars. I just have shelves on top of shelves with a bunch of crystals in my garage. Color coded, of course, and everything. But I know, like, I've seen on Instagram some people show off their shelves with their inventory. I can't do that, y'all. It's my garage. It doesn't look pretty. Yeah. What about you, Jaden?
Well, I mean, as far as how I keep track of everything, I also use Excel as well. I think you upped me one by how you divide it, but I use Excel, so all my stuff is in my spreadsheets. I have my very first tab is my algorithm, so that's how I price things. And then everything after comes in order of supplier. And then I actually do it by mineral, so I have tabs by mineral. And then within those tabs by mineral, I'll have my sphere, my tower, my flame, you know, so on and so forth columns. Mm-hmm. And then I actually link everything to the algorithm tab so that when I'm doing, like, I'll go into the spreadsheets first and type in everything that I have that I've gotten in, that's new inventory, whatnot. I'll go into my algorithm tab and then it'll auto-populate into each tab after that. So I don't have to continuously go into each one and do it manually. So the algorithm tab manages all the other tabs and prices it automatically. And it saves me a lot of time because I work full time, you know, in my day job, and you know, as soon as inventory comes in, I'll price it right away, because if I don't, knowing me, it'll just sit there for days and days, and then I'll end up getting lazy and not wanting to do it.
I'm gonna be really honest, you guys. I sometimes wait until the very day before. It happens.
It's not a success. I always say it's not a successful live until something is happening day of, last minute, whether it be pricing or setting up or getting a display thing for the table itself. And that's been me. So, so literally things will be coming in the day before, the day of, and, you know, I'll do it on the fly. But, you know, like you, Excel just saves us so much time and stress, because it manages it all, and it's easy to go to. As far as my inventory, I mean, I am not big enough to have a garage full of inventory, but I have in my hallway, everything is, it doesn't look like I have any crystals or any inventory, because it's all stored in a long hallway cabinet that I use just for, you know, everyday whatnot, and it's all inside drawers and pull-out drawers. And then I'll have inventory under the table as well, separated in boxes, you know, by spheres, towers, everything in between, you know, that sort of thing. So yeah. And then the nice thing about having a table, you know, set up all the time is that you can also just keep inventory on the table as well. So
yeah. Sometimes I do that too. So like we'll have the live going and say I have um like a bunch of I don't know, like smoky quartz spheres, and I know they're gonna sell really well, and but I only have like four on the table, because that's just all that fit, then I'll go ahead and like besides me, like behind the scenes, there's another like basket of spheres where I can grab from and refill, if I need to.
Yeah.
But really quick before we move on and touch on profit losses, you mentioned your so like your the equation that you use for your spreadsheet to calculate your price. I don't use that. Um, what I do is like because for me it's different because some suppliers I know I can count on that they will get me what I need at a really, 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 really cheap price. And then there's other suppliers that I know are not so cheap. And so like there's like the for me at least the equation tends to change depending on what you
Oh,
buy it
sure.
for. And then what you buy it for also like changes all the time too, because sometimes it goes like, up in price depending on rarity or blah blah
Hmm.
blah. Um, but for those who don't know Excel and who don't know how to make up an equation like that, because I know we'll get people later who are like, how do you do that? Um, Basically, for me, how it works is you have to sit down and calculate how much you're spending. So, like usually, a crystal shop will mark up 3 to 4 times the wholesale price. And I know that sounds like a lot, but you have to think about it. Like when you go to Express and buy yourself a nice sweater, that sweater was made for pennies, probably in China or Vietnam or whatever, and you're buying it over here for $100.
Hmm.
So, there's, I think that you have to get past like when you see the markup, you shouldn't feel bad because this is work that you're doing. This is time you're putting into it. And that there's just, it's just an aspect of business.
Right.
Um, but of course, you don't want to have good judgment and don't overprice either. I know we've talked about how like some lives overcharge, but I've also heard they can counter argue that since they're bigger shops, they have staff that they need to pay, and there's a lot more time and pre-work that goes into the live sale. And so since you're paying for the luxury of being on a live and being able to be presented the item, and you're basically paying for the service of being able to shop live, right? Because some people live in small towns, they don't have a crystal shop near them, stuff like that. So it's kind of the luxury that you're paying for. That's the argument that some people will have. But again, so much is left up to your discretion and your good judgment.
Yeah,
Um,
I think another
mhm,
thing to add to that
mhm,
is that how shops price things is a cut, like a three-way cut.
mhm,
So you want to think about a cut for the shop, a cut for packaging, a cut for you. The shop, is like inventory, packaging, and all that stuff that's separate. So I know that a lot of shops do like a three-way cut,
mhm.
and that's why it's like a three times the wholesale price. I don't know where the four times comes from, but I've always known it to be a three-way cut.
Yeah. Yes, that's true. And there's so much that goes into like the cut that goes to the business, like that I think like the things that you mentioned are like the preliminary things that one thinks like, okay, this is obvious that they spend on, but the consumer has no idea that we have to pay for either a office that is not in our home or at least a virtual office that we have to at least dish out $100 a month because we don't want to put our home addresses on our packages because people can
Right.
get weird and stalk you and stuff, and
Right.
you don't want to do that. And
No.
so there's like, yeah, so there's like other things. We have to pay for our QuickBooks memberships. We have to pay for, if you have a website, like I have to pay for my Shopify fees. I have the text messaging, so I have to pay for that too.
Mhm.
What else do we do? We pay for there's like so many like background things that are not seen by the consumer that we have to dish out a lot of money. Oh, and then there's like ads and stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
So there's like
Promoting.
a ton.
Well, not to
Um,
mention your time, the time
mhm,
too. Like, we take our photos. That's time. That's very time consuming. Just
yeah,
that alone.
mhm.
You know, all these factors like are really good points to add into why shops price the way they shop.
Yeah, yeah. So as far as losses go, I'm not sure. I hope I'm answering this in the right context because as a live, I feel like the loss wouldn't be in terms of like theft because nobody can really steal from our lives. They're not there. But I know that like maybe losses for me could be counted as like the giveaways that we do. So that's something that I'm giving away for free and I don't make any income off of. What I do is, oh, I guess another loss could be maybe when a crystal is broken. Sometimes it gets broken in transit or it gets broken here or whatever, and I have to write that off. Those are just unfortunate situations, but when it comes to giveaways, we do keep track of those because at the end of the year, those are write-offs for your taxes.
Right. Right.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think I don't know if you do, like discount lives. I've done a couple so far, or just feed sales, and those would be considered as losses too. So if you have a product that's not selling and doesn't sell for a certain period of time,
Hmm.
there's no other way for you to move it unless you offer a discount on it. And although you're making closer to what you paid wholesale, you're still making something, but you're also taking out those cuts that we talked about as well. So that would be considered, I mean, in my opinion, a loss as well. So some people will see that differently, but
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. I like that you brought that up. I completely didn't think of that. I see a bunch of highs in the comments. If you guys are just hopping on and have questions, feel free to drop them in the comment box. Not the comment box, I'm sorry, the little question box. Other than that, we can just freelance you and I back and forth until we get another question.
okay.
I like that you said that we have to take into account all the work that we do. I think if you're someone who's thinking about opening a crystal shop, I think that you do need to keep in mind that the hats that you wear are a million. You're the photographer, you're the product photographer, you're the inventory manager, which means you're consistently sourcing, consistently taking care of the receiving process, consistently making sure that each box you open has all the items that were ordered. Because sometimes suppliers make mistakes too, and you might end up missing a kg or two. It's happened to me before. And so you do have to monitor that. You're the accountant, you're the social media strategist, you are everything.
Yep.
It is, I mean, not to turn anyone off. I hope I didn't scare anyone. Maybe I should have worded I should
it's
have worded that a little different. But
it's
yeah,
it's
what do you
part of
think about that?
it's part of the game, until you
Hmm.
grow. And that, I mean, if you want to remain smaller, then then great. But if I think if you're starting out and you want to grow to be 100 to 200 people viewing your live, then you got to start thinking about what it takes to hire people to do some of the work for you. But yeah, you're right. Starting out, like, you have to take the reins of all the different roles that go into it, and that includes the not so glamorous parts too.
Yep.
These are things that have to be done, that are important to run a successful shop. And it may scare off some people, but at the same time, I think it's a really great learning experience as well. It definitely puts a lot to the test as well, and I think you know yeah, I think it's just a really great learning experience, not just in running a business, but learning about yourself too, and the people that you interact with every time you have a live.
Yeah. Yeah. I think um sometimes it seems really like cute and fluffy when you come around a crystal shop account on Instagram, and it can be really easy to feel inspired. But I always tell like even the customers that reach out. Like I have extensive conversations with Dino Roar with Heber.
Mhm.
And we'll like voice message back and forth, and I'm like excruciatingly honest, and I let him know how like what's really going on in my life behind the scenes. It's not like the glitter and rainbows that you see on the feed. It's so much more. But again, that doesn't mean that you should get scared. If anything, it's what I want the viewer to take from this right now is to expect that you're going to have to push yourself. You're going to have some tenacity. You're going to have to like really push hard because you're going to wear so many hats and it's going to be very intense. There was times most people will start having a full-time job and juggling the shop.
Mhm.
You guys, there was days, okay, I was an accountant for a school and so I had to get there. And although I had nothing to do with education, the school still saw me as a part of the school. So
Mhm.
they would give me responsibilities like opening up the school at 7 a.m. So yeah, and getting there at 7 a.m., opening up the school, turning on the lights, and then getting into my office, answering emails, doing all the things I had to do. Then at 5 o'clock, I would leave and come home, have dinner, had my kids, help them with homework. By the time I shower, by the time I'm ready to work on the shop, it was like 7. And after that, I still had to step into my second shift and become the crystal shop owner. Sometimes we'd have lives at 7 and we'd go on till 11, and
Mhm.
then I'd like send invoices till 2 a.m., sleep only 3 hours, and then get back to the school where I worked at 7. I did that for like almost a year. There was days when I would cry, like
See,
cry.
and you have kids too, so
Yeah,
it's double. It's like three full-time jobs back to back.
yeah,
But it's a true testament to the fact that you have kids and you have this job and you have the shop and you have your personal life to take care of too. And this if someone like you or me that has have these full-time jobs or these other obligations outside of the business can do it, like a lot of people can. I mean, I went into the shop not knowing a single thing about what to do. I didn't have a mentor. I I watched other lives. I viewed them. I took notes. I got a feeling from it, from different lives, and that was my mentor itself. So, I don't think this should deter anybody. I think it's more. It's also an inspirational,
yeah.
testament to say that if one person that has A, B, and C can do it, then second person can do A, B, and C too, plus the shop.
Yeah. Yeah, I think another thing that turns people off, because I feel like I felt this way too at the beginning, is when I was like fresh, like I had just started, and I would compare myself to other accounts, bigger accounts, and that it was a gut punch. Like sometimes I felt like it was pointless. Like what was I doing? And sometimes you can feel like giving up, and even like like I think that applies to anybody. Whether you have kids or not. Sometimes your self-esteem can really like chew you up enough to like where it might like make you doubt yourself, and that I think that those fear-based thoughts are just thoughts, and I think that there's like that the viewer, the prospective shop owner that wants to open up a shop should come into this knowing that it's going to be a very slow process. And all those accounts with 30,000 plus followers, they too had only 100 followers one day.
Yeah.
So they didn't get there from, overnight. They didn't, they had to pump out the content. They had to do their research on social media strategy is another thing I hope we touch on, but that plays a big role. And it's a climb. And I think that people need to be kind to themselves and be patient with themselves and not compare themselves so much to other bigger accounts.
Yeah, the way these other bigger accounts operate and how they look and how many followers they have is not a reflection on you or your shop.
Mhm.
They've been doing it longer. They built their platform, for a long period of time. So, you know, that was me when I started my first shop, and then gave up on it because I did exactly what you just said was I took it personally when I saw those other shops and I compared it to my own. And I was even told, you know, by other shops that you shouldn't do X, Y, and Z because you're new. And, you know, I let that get to me, you know, and so I made that mistake in allowing it to. And I think like learning from that and starting over new and fresh, you know, removed all that and always have to repeat to myself. And I think people should do this often is it's not a reflection on me. It has nothing to do with me. Don't take it personal because it's not personal. You know,
Yeah.
you said it's a slow process. It takes time, and you know, I started from scratch again, and I started over. And you know,
Yeah.
if you want to compare the time I had with my last shop and then my new shop, you know, as a I said I would think cumulative, is that the right word?
No, I know which one. I can't say it
Yeah,
either,
I
but I know
can't
what you
say
mean.
it right. You know, it took a year, and I'm not even up to 1,000, so it is a slow process. But you know, if you work hard for it, and it pays off in the end, you know, and then you get inspiration, and you keep lifting yourself up, and that's the biggest thing that I had to teach myself. What was just that, and not take it personal. So.
Yeah, for me, I really tried to keep my head down, and not look at other shops, but it can be really hard when like you see the ads too, the sponsored ads, and they still come up even though you don't follow them, and it's still cringe. But I did my best. But at some point, maybe like after a year, I um I joined a group with and I always shout her out, my friend Barbie. A lot of people know her. She's on YouTube and she does crystal business advice and stuff like that. So she has a platform only like, well, it's not only for new shops. There's um, a lot of she has a Patreon and there's a lot of the members are different from different the ages that the years that they've been open are, you know, you have a variety. You have some that have been open for a year, some have been open for 10 years. So you don't feel like brand new, um, because there's like just like so many, there's a diversity of of kinds of shops.
Yeah.
But you have the support system there. You have you know that you're going into a community that is going to where you can ask questions, where you know you can make friends without like feeling any kind of like competition or anything like that. Everybody is super open-minded, super welcoming. So I wish I could answer every question in the world when it comes to crystal business, but the truth is I just don't have the time. I like to host these lives once in a while just to give back to the community. And I know like there's a lot of people who want these answers, but she's amazing. She only charges like $10 a month,
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
you get access to private YouTube videos, private links to like certain. Oh, I think she even offers a business plan, like a legit
Oh,
business plan that you can take to a bank if you ever wanted to get a loan or something like that. And then you
wow.
have the Discord. Yeah, she has a disc. I don't know if you guys know what Discord is, but it's kind of like a an app where
Cool.
you can, it's like a group chat thing,
Yep.
and everyone communicates in there. And so there's like inside of the chat, there's channels, and there's a channel for each topic. So there's taxes, there's inventory, there's social media strategy, there's like all these things, and you can pop in your questions or rants or whatever in each one of those channels. People chime in, you exchange words and conversation, and it's just a great way to not feel alone as a beginner.
Yeah, there's a huge support system out there for new shops. I think that's what deterred me in the beginning was that I didn't know that, and you know, wasn't sure how to do it, and that's why I went on to it on my own without a mentor. But going back into it again and realizing that there's all these different outlets, you know, for new shops and beginning shops that are trying to learn how to run one. So you know, I'm sure it was around when I first started, but you know, I would say like take the time to research that too, or even ask, other shops like, hey, how do you do X, Y, and Z? How did you learn how to find wholesalers, things like that. There's many out there, to provide you with the answers that you need.
Yes, that is true. I'm gonna open up the question box. We have more questions. Just curious, very new to this, and have always wondered how vendors get great product and deals.
Hmm.
Vendors as in us, right? Not wholesale suppliers.
Yeah, it could be both.
Okay, so I think the question is, how do we find wholesale suppliers, right?
Sounds like it.
Okay, and then the next question will tie into that, which is, what's the best way to find ethical quality distributors? And that's from the same person. This is coming from the Sarah Catherine. So this is a supplier question. So how do you find suppliers and how do you ensure that they're ethical? Do you want to go first? Because I went first last time.
Well, I actually, I just did the very, the easiest thing possible. And I went on to, I don't know, more than I can count on both hands of wholesaling lives, and wanted to compare prices. And I asked a lot of questions on where did these come from? Like, how long have you had them? And did that like basically through each like wholesale live that I was in on, to do the comparison. And I even went as far as asking, kind of not literal receipts, but kind of said, show me the receipts, in the sense of where did these actually come from? Because a lot of the wholesalers will say that this is, for example, citrine from Brazil. But if you know your minerals, and you know the quality, and you know what it's supposed to look like, you'll know that it's either true or false. So I literally did that. I know that it probably sounds like there's more to it than just that, but that literally how I first started was doing just that. Because when I first started, I made the mistake in eating it all up and being like, oh my God, that's so pretty. Oh my God, that's such a great price, but not doing any comparisons. Learned very, very quickly. And then started going the long route and finding like who the best quality supplier is, who has the best price, and who kind of like, in a sense, has the proof of like the quality and, this, where they sourced it from. Because you can either go direct to where it's from, or you can go to a middleman of where it's from. That's how I do it, or have done it. It's not how every shop does it. Some people have their connects through friends. I also have that as well. I think like what people are scared of is asking the questions, because they probably don't want people to know where they got it from, and X, Y, and Z, because they want to keep that for themselves. But in truth, like, you can't, because they're out there for the public.
Yeah. I think that a really bad thing that's happening right now in the crystal community is that a lot of quote unquote wholesale suppliers are adding a bunch of people that aren't shops. They just, so there's these quote unquote wholesale supplier accounts that will find a crystal shop account, like crystal shop, go down their not friends list, the follower list, and follow each and every person. Super spammy.
Yep.
And so what happens is that now you have all of these people who are not shop owners, thinking that now they have access to a wholesale supplier. And it doesn't work like that. It's not that easy. Most of those people who add you, a real good the wholesale suppliers I have never once contacted me.
Yep.
I had to dig for them.
Yep.
And some of them, I was surprised to find they don't even do lives.
Yep.
They don't even sell through lives. They just want to send you pictures back and forth, and hey, do you like this? Do you want it? Yes or no? Move on. Like, some are just clear cut and dry like that. Others do lives, but they won't ever contact you.
Nope.
Now, that's not to say that the lives those unquote wholesale suppliers that add everybody super spammy, you can probably find as a consumer, if you are like somebody who invests a lot in crystals, then maybe like it would be reasonable for you to shop from them because you wouldn't be buying it at a wholesale price, but you also wouldn't be buying it at the American retail price. And depending on how that person works, sometimes they'll say free shipping over 200 or whatever. So if you're already like somebody who buys a lot and you're okay with that and you're not afraid to buy from an international supplier, then that's okay. But I just think that it's really like crushing like shop owners because all these people are like starting to think that they have access to wholesale suppliers and they end up being very, very heartbroken or quitting or like, like because they can't seem to find the right wholesale supplier. Why? Because there's 1,000,010 of these accounts. How
Right.
the fuck are you going to find the real wholesale suppliers? There's 1,000,000 of them. You have to dig through a sea before you find it. It's
Well,
crazy.
to find one or to narrow one down,
Mhm.
my advice is to not choose the ones that contact you, like you said.
Mhm.
Choose the ones that go into your live. Um, I never have a wholesaler in my live. I don't have any wholesalers on my page because I'm the one that contacts all of my wholesalers. And like you said, they never contact you, and that's the sign of a good wholesaler.
Mhm.
Some wholesalers will require like a tax ID or an identification number to prove that you're a shop. They won't have access. They won't ask access to your page or try to add you. They'll just ask, are you a shop? What is your shop name? Um, and that's also like a good sign of a good wholesaler. So it's really tough because a lot of the wholesalers in China um, do that. They will go onto your page and add your followers. Um,
But they're
so,
not wholesalers.
but they're not wholesalers. They are literally people that are walking to
Personal
warehouse,
shoppers.
personal shoppers shopping for these people, presenting themselves under a wholesale name or like wholesale, and then some person's name, but
Mhm.
literally walking from warehouse to warehouse shopping for you directly.
Mhm.
Um, and you can tell right off the bat that they're doing that because they'll some of them might even say, oh, it's in my other warehouse. It's like,
Mhm.
that is not your warehouse.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, but I
I know.
but one thing, I don't even know if this was part of the question, but one thing, one piece of really good advice that I got, sorry for the sirens, one piece of really good advice that I got was to have separate accounts from your business page. And I don't know how many shops do that, but I have my own purchasing page and I have my own shop page, obviously. It's just and I make that one private because I want to be the one to add my wholesalers and not be the one to filter the ones out that like try to add me.
Mhm.
So that's something that I would highly recommend to shop owners that are starting out is to keep your business page away, like separate from the wholesalers, because you're there for a reason. You're not there to present these wholesalers with all your followers so they can shop directly with them, you know.
Yeah. Not only that, I think that it's gonna you want to do this also for the reason that shit gets wild sometimes during for at least in terms of these wholesale suppliers that do lives. Um, Chinese people, especially, like they're not very like. I, for instance, when I'm doing a live, or I used to do this, I try not to anymore. But if somebody asked to show a crystal and then I got a claim for somebody who wasn't the person who asked to show the crystal, then I would give the person who asked priority, and I would honor that, and I would give them the claim.
Mhm.
because I just think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Well, when you're in a live sale, wholesale live, that's not the case. They will take whatever comes up first,
Yeah.
and so you end up fighting, and so you don't want to know who's fighting who. So you create these pseudo accounts that you shop under because we don't want to. Nobody wants to see the Moon Artisan was fighting with.
Cursing at the other shop. Yeah, yeah. It's kind of like it's a multi-purpose account.
Yes, yes, that's so funny. Oh, and then in terms of, it's really hard, you guys. It's really, really hard unless you live in Brazil or you live in China, you make plans to go visit. It's really, really hard to find out the truth about if it's ethically sourced. Because the truth is that, okay, let's say that maybe it is ethically sourced or whatever. Maybe, but that is just the source because what happens is you have these mines who dig out the mineral, but they are not in charge of polishing it, cutting it, and doing all these things. You're the little Pokemon shapes that you get and the little, like, all these shapes, they don't do any of that. You have other processing factories so we buy bulk from those factories, and then those factories buy bulk from the mines. And so these factories have acres of just rock,
Mhm.
and they're just getting it and, like, carving it and processing it, right? Um, so now you have the question of the factory. Is the factory paying a wage that they should be paying? Are they being fair to their employees? Are they getting the breaks that they need? Are they overworking them? Do they have insurance and all this other stuff?
Mhm.
So put that on top of the fact that we have 20 hats to wear, like being a social media strategist and all this accounting and all this other stuff, you
You're a
know?
researcher too.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then there's like, shit just gets really fuzzy because there's a language barrier. You might press for these questions. You want to be a social activist and you want to press for these questions. Okay. But then they end up saying they don't understand you. And then you're like, well, fuck, do I not order from them? Or because there isn't many shops or wholesale suppliers that can give you solid proof of
Mhm.
the fact that it is ethically sourced. So it
True.
puts the shop owner in a very weird predicament. But Kagome, Andrea from Kagome Crystals always, she swears by it. She tells everybody straight up, it's probably not. That's what she says. Because honestly, like, how can we really prove it? How
True.
can we really prove it? It's
Yeah,
it's
because you
really
can't.
hard.
Yeah, because you can't necessarily. You can if you want, but they're
Hmm.
not obligated to show you documentation or show you like on camera.
Yeah.
I've never experienced that yet, but I've also when it comes to any like for certain carvings that you can only get in a certain place, it's just not something that I I don't have the time to do that, to wait
Yeah.
around and to like try to like berate these wholesalers for documentation and proof because so it just really comes down to like that's a choice that you make, of
Yeah.
course, but it's also it's also your obligation to make that very transparent and clear to your customers too. And as much as we want to try to provide ethically sourced product, it's not always 100% possible. You know,
Hmm.
um, if you really really dig in and take the time and have that time and energy, then yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
But you know, everybody has to live a life has a life of their own too. That
Yeah.
it's just it's
And you
tough.
really would have to take on the role of being like this social activist that you would have to travel there and you would have to, like, get reporters involved and you would have, like, this is the kind of shit you'd have to do if you really wanted to get answers.
Mhm.
And who's willing to do it, really? Or maybe you're willing to but just don't have the time because realistically it's just not something that we American shop owners, we don't have time. We're already super overworked. And Oh, fuck, I was going to say something and I forgot.
Yeah, it's possible. It's just a matter of whether you have the time to do it. And if you don't, then, it's as simple as don't sell it. Because if you want to remain under that spotlight of being, the 100% ethically sourced shop, then I think a lot of us would love to be that. You
Yeah.
know, if you want to remain under that, then it's as simple as don't buy it, don't sell it. And if you're okay with a little bit of flexibility, then pivot
Hmm.
and at least be transparent.
Yeah, I remember now. If you're going to if you're gonna go if you're gonna go and be worried about ethically sourcing crystals, then you better be a vegan. You better not have leather couches. You better live on a farm, and you better be like, come on, there's so many other things that we consume, that we buy, that it's so hard to not have something in your life that is crucial, that you absolutely need, like soap or like just like anything, like so many things that we use in our day-to-day life come from questionable sources.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
really, really, like, is it really that worth it? Like, to be that like consumed over the fact that if crystals are sourced, ethically sourced or not. Not to say that you shouldn't try. You should
Yeah,
definitely
sure.
try.
Yeah,
Yes. But also like don't beat yourself up over it because come on.
yeah. And don't be afraid to ask questions too, because
Hmm.
you have every right as a shop owner, but just as a human being to ask the questions because you're the one that's spending the money.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to ask questions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, I think we have more questions. Venus and Pearl Co. says, what is your advice when it comes to the legal stuff like taxes, EIN, LLC, etc.? By the way, thanks for doing this live. And then her second question is, what are your tips for keeping, oh, we already did inventory and profits, losses. Okay, so then the taxes, LLC, and EIN number. So for me, the EIN number is what you do first. Um, Bottom line, because that's the IRS, and the IRS is daddy. So
Yeah, big
that's
brother.
what you do first. After that, um, you are going to decide. After that, are you going to be an LLC or a sole proprietor? Blah blah blah. After you've made that conscious decision, how do you begin the paperwork? You go to your comptroller because I cannot tell you what to do because I'm from Texas and I don't know if you're from Texas. Um, it differs state by state. So you have to go to the comptroller for your state. How do I go to the comptroller for my state? You go online. You can either contact, I'm sure they have contact information. It will either be through email or by phone. We did it is we called. They gave us all the information that we needed, pointed us where on the website we could download the forms, fill them out, and resend. And after you do that, then they send you a letter back with your paperwork proving that you are a LLC or whatever, whatever. That's how it worked for me. I know you're in Seattle though. How did that work for you?
It's the same exact way because in Washington State, um, unless they live in the state of Washington, you can't charge them taxes. So if I have a consumer or a customer that it's buying from me that lives here in Washington, legally, because you have the EIN, you have all that stuff in place, you can charge them taxes.
Yeah.
Um, I think like for PayPal, for Square, for Etsy, but it differs from state to state, like you said. So like it's the same
Mhm.
thing for us too. We can't charge them taxes if they don't live in the state of Washington.
Yeah, same for Texas. So I will get sometimes customers asking, well, how come you charge me taxes and this other shop doesn't charge me taxes? And it's like, well, you're from Texas. And that I have to explain that we have to charge taxes for our state because we have to pay state taxes for that, but not for states outside of our own.
Yeah,
Um,
and we
yeah,
also don't have like a federal we don't have federal taxes in the state of Washington. So um, there was something else that I was going to say too, but I forgot. You know, you also be really careful when you do set up, you know, your business PayPal, your business Square, whatever, because I ran into an issue in the very beginning where the box was automatically checked as far as taxes, and the first few things charged taxes, and I went back and I was like, you know, huge mistake, red flag. I'm like, God, I hope they didn't notice. So want to be really careful and pay attention to that too.
I just want to say Dino is here. Hi, Dino. Okay, so yeah, for taxes, as far as the end of year goes, I could go on and on about taxes because I was an accountant, but I also, I like in that group that I'm in, everyone's like, you should make your own group and give all this advice. I'm like, nope, I did it for so long. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
No interest.
But for the sake of this slide, we can go into it. So end of year taxes. Write-offs are super important. Maybe not as a smaller shop, not yet, but you should start implementing the practices now so you don't get caught off guard once you start making more, because you do have to pay 30% of whatever your shop makes after you've made 200,000. So I know that sounds like a lot, but remember, just like we price our crystals, and we divide that by 3 or 4, and you know, like, we're not getting all of that $200,000. We're only getting a small percentage of that. But so every month you'll want to think that way, right? And every month, think, okay, this is how much I made. I'm going to save 30% because this is what I know I need to give to Uncle Sam at the end of the year. You could do it maybe even every live. Just deduct 30% and start saving that away, right? Also, make sure you're keeping track of all your expenses. If you have Shopify for your website, that's an expense because you pay a subscription for that. If you have apps within that website, that's an expense. Everything that you use, your phone bill is kind of like one of the phone, internet, office space in your house. That's kind of like gray areas. The government lets you write off only, like, I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it's only 30% of whatever you make because it's still in your home and you're still using it for purposes that are not also your business. So, but you can still track that, and everything helps once you're a bigger shop and Uncle Sam is asking you for $30,000.
Yeah.
Like that, you're gonna be like scavenging for whatever you can receipts you can find, because it's gonna be so much money. It's gonna scare you. You don't want to be doing that. So all your shipping, when you get your inventory, usually we have to pay for inventory for shipping to get our inventory here from Brazil or China or Afghanistan, not Afghanistan, Pakistan. Afghanistan. Moment of silence. I feel so bad. Anyway, so yeah, you're gonna want to keep track of all those invoices because all the shipping, which is a lot, you guys, I at least pay like $200 to $300 in shipping
Each time?
just to get the product here. Yeah.
Each, okay.
Because the amount that I order, so like the boxes usually weigh about 30 kgs. So what is that, like 60 pounds?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, 60 pounds that, so, you know, just like here when we ship something from one state to another, it's by weight, right? The amount that we will charge for shipping is based on the weight of the package. So if it's already hard enough to like, it's not hard, but it's expensive to ship crystals state to state because crystals weigh so much. Can you imagine having to like a big box of crystals? Like you have to pay a lot for shipping to get it here, especially when you need it on the go and you have to fly it. Yes, you can pay $30 for shipping instead if you want to wait a whole month without tracking information. you can get the option of sea shipping, but it sucks. It really sucks. Um,
Ever.
yeah, so some shops are comfortable with that. I know how I have some friends who do it and they don't care that they don't have tracking. They do it anyway and it works for them. That's cool. I'm just kind of OCD and I don't want to.
No,
So
I want to know where my packages are.
yes, yes. So, though that, but all that shipping that you pay on those invoices, you can write that off too. That's an expense. The
Well,
boxes that you use.
including all of your stuff for the table too. You know, you can
Yeah.
all your decorations, your displays, all that, as
Mhm,
long as it's
mhm.
for the table, those are things that you can write off too. So don't lose your receipts for those, even if it's a little pen that you use for just your life.
Yeah, and it adds up
It adds
because
up.
you don't think it does, but like I have like so much like just because we like to like jazz up our tables when it's like Valentine or Christmas or Halloween and we like to like decorate it according to the holiday and it does add up a lot. You think that it doesn't because it feels like you're buying stuff like for your house, but it really does once you add it all once you add it all up. I think last Halloween I spent like $150 on decorations. So imagine that that's the average probably for every holiday. And maybe there's like what 4 or 5 major holidays that we'll celebrate, like Halloween, Christmas, Easter. What else?
Well,
There's
some
probably another
if
one.
some if
Yeah,
some
so
participate in
that
spring,
you're
you
looking
can,
at like $400 or $500.
yeah, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't want to spend too much time on taxes, but the list does go on and on. I would advise you to get in contact with a tax professional, and you can just. I know people kind of cringe at having to tell a banker or a tax professional that they sell crystals for a living or have a crystal shop because it kind of sounds like you're a hippie and it's not a very, like serious business. But it totally is. You need to be very comfortable. Your banker or your accountant or your tax professional sees all kinds of businesses. They're not, and if they do judge you, then drop them. You don't need that. Because I can at least give you a number or two of good tax preppers who can give you guidance and are not going to act that way.
Yeah,
Um, mhm,
I have a financial advisor that does all this stuff for me because I don't have the time for it, and I know that a lot of people, don't want to start out on a budget, and that's completely fine, but it saves you a huge headache, stress, all of that by, like you said, you can go to H&R Block, get a tax specialist advisor, hire your own tax specialist or your financial advisor, and you know they can advise you on what to do or they can do it for you if you however like on hands you want to be with that portion of the business.
mhm. Yeah. So like for me, I had some background in taxes and stuff because I was an accountant. And so Mr. Moon Artisan and I both do our taxes. But our very first year, we did need help. So we used a friend of ours um, who helped us out because the thing is that we, as much as we know about tax, didn't know about online sales tax, which
Mm-hmm.
is super different. And so, if you find the right people who specialize in online sales tax, it really helps because they can give you a lot of like tips and tricks on how to like write certain things off and stuff like that. And if you also feel really like shy about saying you're a crystal shop owner, there's other ways to word it more eloquently. Like you can just say, we're a gemstone and mineral supplier, and we sell jewelry too.
Yeah.
Did I lie?
No. Because
It's a
that is
better way of saying the crystal shop.
I think it's actually an option on some things when you're starting off like an account or something. They ask you what type of business this is, and it'll either say like collectibles or gems and minerals or just minerals, and there is that option too. So it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing to be like feel weird about. It's especially in this day and age, a lot of people turn towards alternative healing, and
Hmm.
I think the world is slowly catching on to that. So don't be afraid.
Yeah, especially right now, it's crazy. Like I've met so many people that I would never think were into spirituality, and lo and behold, they do. And they start asking you questions, and it's like, oh, yay! The world is waking up.
Yeah. So that's also another hat that, as a shop you can choose whether to hold or not. And I think it's super important to choose to wear the hat of being kind of like a mentor, or I don't want to say spiritual advisor, because I think you have to be licensed for that. I'm not sure. But to be kind of like the hand holding person, or the like advice, specialist on the minerals and helping them through their crystal journey, because you will get a lot of questions from customers. I don't like calling them customers because
I know it's weird,
it
right?
doesn't sound right. So they're my
Because we're
crystal
so
family.
close to them.
Yeah, they're my crystal family. So, but that's another thing to
Uh-huh.
prepare for, is that you want to be prepared to wear the hat of this friend, to this
Hmm.
person, because people need people. People need help. People need advice, and it's it's your. You may not want to admit it, but it's kind of your job as a crystal shop owner, with the
Hmm.
knowledge that you have, to provide this to those that are not, a shop owner, that are a consumer, that are part of your crystal family, part of this crystal journey. And so
Hmm.
it's something that you really have to like be prepared to do, to answer a lot of questions, to be prepared to just get a random message in the middle of the night of someone either venting to you or asking you a lot of questions about something. Videos, pictures, prices, weight, height, all of that.
Hmm.
It's part of the business, and
Yeah.
it's something that you should expect. And
Hmm.
super important. It's a super important part of the business to make your business successful, to make you successful in connecting with all these people around the world. It's unfortunate because I know a lot of shops that don't do that. And um, it's something that you do. It's something that I do, and yeah, just be prepared for that.
Yeah. Um, I think that as crystal shop owners, you kind of naturally fall in the, like you said, that the umbrella of the spiritual niche. So you are going to get, like you said, a lot of those questions. But I think that is like what I love the most is
Mm-hmm.
well, when I was working as an accountant, um, the Moon Artisan didn't start as a crystal shop right off the bat. What I was doing first was tarot because I needed an outlet because I've been a student of spirituality for a very long time. And being an accountant and working with a team of accountants and then also like teachers and school professionals and like having all these like philosophies in my head and things that I was thinking about and just like all this spiritual growth that I couldn't talk about
Yeah.
was really frustrating for me. So also it kind of like, it's accounting gets redundant. So I needed like an outlet to express myself and to like make friends and stuff. And so I began the Moon Artisan as a tarot page. And I used to do tarot readings.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Um, yeah, that's what I used to do at the beginning. When I only had like 100 followers, that's what I was doing. And so after I started implementing crystals and after I saw how it's not all the rainbows, cookies, and butterflies like it seems, I started to say, well, shit, like I'm gonna have to like stop doing tarot readings and I'm gonna have to like put my hands here because this takes a lot of focus. And so I had to take off tarot readings for a little bit. Well, for a lot of it. I've been thinking, I was actually telling Dino I'm thinking of maybe bringing them back, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes because I'm still pretty busy. Um, but yeah, like after all the growth, right now I'm at 13,000, and I'm super busy, but I will answer every question that I get. because it's the reason I made the Moon Artisan. Like,
Mm,
if I stop doing that, then the Moon Artisan stops being what it was supposed to be, you
right,
know?
right.
And yeah, and you have to think like as busy as you are sometimes, because there will be times when life is happening to you. You have 70 invoices to make, and you're getting questions about spirituality. And it's important for you to like remember that, you know, those people are probably where, well, at least for me, that's what I think. Like, those people are probably in that same situation where I was when I was an accountant and had nobody to ask these things to, nobody to vent these things to, or nobody to just like exchange these words with. You know what I mean? They're going through the same thing. So, yeah, just like think of it that way. Like, like you said, they're people and they're needing community, you know? That's what they're here
But
for.
it shouldn't stop you from living your life as well. And people are more understanding than one would think. And life gets busy, and as long as you're transparent
Hmm.
and not lying, at least giving some sort of communication, then people will trust you, and that all of that should come naturally, because your family, your crystal family will see right through that if they can sense any sort of uh, um, disingenuous, or if they sense that you're being disingenuous. Um,
Hmm.
so it's yeah, like you know, don't let that stress you out because you also have a life to live too. Um, just my advice is just to be transparent with your community.
Yeah. Yeah, if you get too busy, that that's nobody should get mad at you for trying to do your job.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, that's totally true. I know I used to like get a lot of people who were like, "Well, we miss your readings, and this is why we followed you and all your messages and stuff like that." And I'm like, "I know, but like,
you should do it again.
also like, I have 3 kids who are in baseball and dance and all this other stuff. So, like it in the tarot, do you read tarot?
I read, so I'm still at the beginning stages, but I know how
Okay.
to read. My partner
Okay.
does all the tarot, and that's who will be doing it tomorrow.
Mhm.
But I'll be doing the card pulls. But yeah, I read tarot. I'm not amazing at it, but I
Mhm.
do know how.
Yeah. Okay, so the queens, you know how like there's the Queen of Wands, Queen of
Mhm.
Cups, Queen
Cups.
of Pentacles, Queen of Swords. So the cards for anybody who doesn't know tarot, they represent aspects of life, like overarching themes that people, animals, nations experience. These are archetypes. And within those archetypes are even more detailed archetypes that are the main characters, like the trump cards and the kings and queens and stuff like that. So I would think to myself, when I would find myself in these situations where people still wanted me to do tarot because what they saw me as was okay, I'm trying to say this from a perspective where the viewer has no idea what tarot is. They'll need some kind of background information to know what I'm about to say. So the 4 queens all represent different types of women. You have the the Queen of Cups, who's super intuitive, super emotional. She likes to paint. She likes to comfort. She likes to, she's that motherly queen. Then you have the Queen of Wands. She's like that entrepreneur woman. She's really pretty. She's like showstopper. She's loud. She's not afraid to speak. And then you have the Queen of Swords. She's not afraid to speak either, but she's very like serious and she's got her guard up and she wants to just talk business. She's not trying to be your friend. And, like that's her. And then there's, who are we missing? Queen of Pentacles. She's also another kind of mom figure, but this is more like in terms of like the home and building foundation and raising and morals and stuff like that, right? It's also associated with monetary things, but for the sake of this, we're just going to leave it at that. So they wanted me to still stay Queen of Cups when I wanted to be an entrepreneur Queen of Wands. And
Yeah.
so in order to do that, sometimes I had to show this Queen of Swords and draw the line and say,
Mhm.
I need you to respect my time. And I need you to respect my decision. because this is what I think is best for my family. And like you have to just learn when you have to pull these archetypes in and stand your ground, and there's nothing wrong because that's what life is. It's a balancing act. We're not always going to be fluffy bunny and sugar, rainbows, and butterflies in spirituality. Sometimes we have to put the accountant hat on and be this stiff person who's just narrowed in on business right now, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. And it's okay to say no.
Yeah, it's
You don't
okay to say no.
you don't always have to be. I know it's hard and it's easier said than done when you're starting out a business, but it's easy to be the yes man, the yes woman, whatever you go by. It's easy to be the yes person. But you continue that, and that's what people will get used to, and that's what eventually some people, not all, because I like to give everyone the benefit of the doubt, is that they will take advantage of that. And you want your business to be a success, and you want everyone to go to you, but that's not always going to be the case because there's 100,001 different shops out there. You can't be all of them. So it is okay to say no, because you have to, at the end of the day, you have to look out for yourself, because if you don't, then it's going to show in your shop, and then you're going to be at a steady decline, and you don't want to go there. So you have to maintain your life before you maintain your shop, and once you have a good grasp on that, then you should be, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's smooth sailing, but it's smoother sailing from there on, because you're allowing yourself to draw that line, put that sword and draw it down in the sand and allow yourself to breathe as well.
Yeah. That brings me to another thing. Recently, within the last few months, we hired 2 employees to help us with shipping. Yeah, so this is, I know, our first 2 employees, and so that's why I say that maybe we'll bring tarot back, is because now that I have help, now I'm seeing that I have more time on my hands. And although tarot technically is work, because you do have to schedule in the time to make all these readings and all this stuff, it doesn't feel like work when you love what you're doing. But my point is that it won't always. There's a period of time in any business, especially at the beginning, where you're gonna have to. It's gonna be a hard climb. You're gonna have to push. You're gonna have to make a lot of sacrifices. Maybe lose some friends along the way. Not even gonna lie, because you're not gonna have time for phone calls anymore. You're not gonna have time for certain things. But it's like you said, things get better. You get used to it. You find new systems to implement that help you save time. Before you know it, you have employees, and you'll have more time on your hands to answer DMs and be, like more visible in your community, or et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll do tarot. I'm taking an astrology class right now.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, I've always, again, been a student of all of these things, but this year I'm taking it like super seriously, because I I know astrology enough to do moon rituals and stuff like that, and I can follow transits in order to perform certain things. But when it comes to making predictions and stuff like that, I still have trouble synthesizing those aspects. So yeah, and I've learned everything I know on my own. But I just there's an astrologer named Chris Brennan, and he is one of the top, in my opinion. That's arguable, but I really like him. He's very, very good. He went to school for astrology. He worked in all these projects. He was a member of Project Hindsight, which was basically a project in the 90s where a bunch of scholars got together and translated ancient Greek texts in order to narrow in on exactly what kind of practices were practiced in astrology back in Mesopotamia and like even in the Hellenistic era and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so this guy is no like he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so if I'm going to learn, like if I'm going to take a course and be certified by somebody, it's going to be you either learn it right the first time or you don't learn it at all. So
Yeah.
I'd rather just, yeah, he's awesome. But it's, look, I have the book here. They made a story, but it's a thick book.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But
I have to read this.
that brings me to a point that, well, kind of what to piggyback off of what you're saying is that because I've noticed, like with you, since I've been following you before I became a shop, you're always trying something new, and that's something to really like incorporate,
Mhm.
eventually, not right away, but into your shop too, is
Mhm.
to do new things, to you can educate yourself to bring that to your shop, to your business,
Mhm.
and like I've noticed with you that you're changing it up, and I think it's great, and it's just another way for people to see you as a not just a gem and mineral seller.
Mhm.
So something what I'm saying is that you separate yourself from a lot of other shops, because I don't know very many shops that do what we're doing right now, like what you're doing.
Mhm.
So you want to like take a grasp on like what you can do to separate yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, but a lot of that goes back to like, um, that aspect of that we were talking about, when we were talking about holding on to like trying your best to value your community members,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, this is for them,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
people that I bring on, and like I have my friend Koya, she does tarot here. We'll go live and she'll do tarot, and because I know that right now I don't have the time, but I want to help everyone. So if I can't do it, I can point them in the right direction.
Yeah,
So I'll
yeah.
have Koya come and do tarot. I'll have Brittany come and do astrology, and all these people come and share their gifts,
Hmm.
and so that way I'm still, giving back to people
Yeah.
in a way, although I don't have to like do it myself,
Right.
point them in the
Exactly.
right direction.
Right.
Hmm. Yes, yes. Have we reached the hour? I haven't even checked. Oh my God, we're way past.
Oh, was it an hour?
Wait, yeah,
Oh,
I
wow.
know. Time flies, right? We started at 7. It's 8:23, so it's almost 8:30.
Wow.
I
I
know.
didn't know it
Time
was just
flies.
an hour.
Well, I mean, usually I just do an hour. But sometimes, the talk is really interesting and it
Yeah,
does
yeah.
go over.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I don't see any questions in the chat box. Is there anything that you want to say before we wrap it up?
I not really. I think the only, and maybe I've said it in other ways, is I guess don't give up. And if you do, or you're getting there, it just re pick yourself back up again, reach out to somebody, don't stay silent, and like I've said, I don't know how many times already, just don't be afraid to ask questions, and reach out. Don't feel embarrassed, because if you're going into this point blank, like into the deep end without knowing much, like you're not going to learn unless you ask the questions. And so don't give up. I mean, I gave up, but I picked myself back up again, and I feel 1,000 times better. So um, just kind of just go with the flow, and don't I guess don't take a lot of things in this life, or the crystal community, um, uh, not necessarily to heart, but as a reflection upon you, because everybody's different,
Right.
and you want to remain your true different self, because if you were just like everybody else, then what would be the fun in that?
Yeah.
So yeah, that would, I guess that would be the only thing I'd want to say.
Yeah. That's a very good point to end on. Um, and it's so true. Like, in my experience, I've had like I have friends that own crystal shops, and we discuss like what we do and what we don't do, but we always find that it's so weird that something will religiously work for one shop, and we try it, and it doesn't work for our shop.
Hmm.
We could have the same amount of followers, sometimes similar followers, but it's just some kind of magic juju from the universe that it just works for them and not for me. Like,
Yeah.
for example, Lily. Lily likes to do the crystals in order. She does her blues, her yellows, her whatever, whatever. But she goes in order. God damn it, that doesn't work for me. Like, it doesn't
We all
work
want to
for me.
sell out on our entire table if we do it that way, I know.
Yes, it doesn't work. So I've just, learned that it doesn't. For Andrea from Kogomi's Crystals, she hates ads. She advises nobody to do ads, never spend on ads. I love ads. I can spend $100 and get 100 followers. Like, it works for me like magic, but it doesn't work at all for her. And why? Like, it's just some things you're gonna find are weird like that, and so you shouldn't, again, compare yourself to others and um, take things personally, take things to heart. Everybody's journey is gonna be different.
Yeah,
And
don't let it deter you, you know. Keep trying things because if you don't try it, you won't know until it works. You won't know
mhm,
if it works because if you're just like, oh, it doesn't work for her, I'm not going to try it. Well, try it and it could work for you, you know. But that's I'm glad that you said that because it's like it I think about that all the time, you know, like
uh-huh,
I try new things all the time to see what works and what doesn't work, and it's always going to be a learning experience. And then once you
mhm.
find it, you know, like God, hold on to that.
Yes, yes.
It's just
You and it
it's trial and error, really.
exactly. Yeah. A lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
A lot of it. Like a year's worth of it.
Yes.
The Sarah Catherine says, thank you both very much. Thank you, love, for being here. I know. I had so much fun. Let's wrap up. Do you want us to call you Joe or Jaden? I'm
Um,
used to Jaden.
either is fine. I always just go by Jaden on IG. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just what I'm used to, and even before IG existed, it's what I was used to. So,
we'll keep it Jaden then. Okay. And okay, so I always like to wrap up just like we in the beginning we introduce ourselves. Now we can go ahead and exit with another Dino says you guys are the best. Oh, thank you, Dino. We love
thanks,
you.
Dino.
So I'm Priscilla from the Moon Artisan. You can find us on Instagram mainly, TikTok. This will be posted on YouTube, so like, comment, subscribe later. And Jaden, do you want to let us know who you are and where we can find you?
Yeah, Jaden or Joe, either works. From Gemstone Zaddy. We are also on TikTok under the same name, on Instagram, same name as well. And uh, our lives are not really consistent. So,
It
but
never
yeah,
was. It still never is for me. Guys, I have 3 kids. They're in baseball and dance. Sometimes it rains, so they have to reschedule the baseball game, and I have to reschedule my life. Shit happens. Oh
yeah,
well.
it happens. Life happens. But we are having. I don't know if you're doing a live tomorrow, but we're doing my birthday live tomorrow, so I'm excited about
Yay! Well,
that.
happy birthday in advance if I don't get to say happy birthday. Yay! How fun!
Yeah, thank
We
you so
are
much
going to
for.
be live tomorrow.
Oh,
Yeah, so
okay.
that yeah, I'll
You'll
be busy. So I know I probably won't be able to be as social. So I want to say happy birthday now.
you'll be on before me, so I'll come. I'll stop in and say hi.
Okay, cool. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Jaden. We'll talk soon, okay?
Thanks, Priscilla. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys, thank you so much. I'm hopping off. I have to get ready for tomorrow's live sale. This will be posted later on YouTube, so if you don't catch this one or couldn't catch most of it, you can catch the replay later. Bye, guys.